What SB327 does is it pertains only to those on a 251 deferred disposition for first-time marijuana possession. They would still receive a criminal record, but what this bill does is it eliminates the automatic 6-month driver's license suspension when someone is placed on deferred disposition for possession of marijuana. There's an enactment clause which makes it clear that we don't, this bill doesn't take effect until we are assured that we won't lose any federal transportation funds. I've spoken with the U.S. Department of Transportation, been led to believe that we wouldn't lose it because right now 251 deferred disposition is not treated as a conviction. You've not been had a finding of guilt on your record, but they're not going to give us anything in writing until after this is passed. It's needed because anyone on a 251 deferred disposition loses their license for 6 months, which makes it harder to comply with the other components of probation, particularly to maintain or seek employment. The other conditions would remain regular drug testing, alcohol testing, community service, any fines, etc. But the revocation of the license makes it causes a loss of employment, economic hardship, and impacts the most economically disadvantaged Virginians. We know from state studies in other states that people have lost jobs after license suspension, as much as 42% New Jersey in one study. And it's important to be aware that Virginia has one of the highest suspension rates, driver's license suspension rates in the country for non-driving drug offenses. Over 29,000 people in Virginia lost their licenses in 2014. That's more than New York or Florida or Texas. We also know that there are 34 states no longer automatically suspending driver's license, and that includes all states that border Virginia. The bill is supported by the NAACP, by the Alexandria Commonwealth's Attorney, the Alexandria Public Defender, and others. It's not about being soft on crime, it's about being smart on crime. And I have eyewitnesses, and I have some other folks who have given me their positions who couldn't be here that I can summarize briefly later.
Sir, you tell us your name, tell us your thoughts on the bill.
My name is Brooke. I'm 42 years old. My father is 70 years old, and we worked together in a small business for the last decade, and we're the only employees. I admit that in my emotional state, I committed a crime in the eyes of Virginia, but the punishment far exceeded the crime. I paid $600 for a lawyer who basically said, "Guilty, Your Honor." I attended 4 court appearances, 2 of which only dealt with scheduling issues. For the first-time offenders program, I had to pay $520 in various fees, 24 hours community service, marijuana 101 online course, and for 6 months, I had to call an automated phone number to see if I was to be randomly drug tested the next day. But the most grueling was the driving restriction. For a teenager, it's a punishment, but for an adult trying to run a business, it's disastrous. I could only drive to and work from work for 6 months. I wasn't under the influence while driving when I was stopped. I endangered no one. Not once was THC detected in my system, but somehow I was denied the ability to drive, one of the most basic freedoms of being an adult. If I needed to go somewhere like UPS or the post office, which was a daily part of my job, I would need to carry a signed letter on company letterhead. But as my father does sales, he wasn't often in the office to sign my notes. I wasn't able to go to my therapist, my optometrist, my dentist, or pick up anything from the grocery store on the way home. I became completely beholden to friends and family. When people move houses, I'm the one that offers to help with our company truck, and I couldn't help anything. And to travel out of state requires a judge's permission. If I wanted to visit family in Maryland or drive my community's orchestra instruments to DC to play for the Indonesian ambassador, I had to submit a request and wait weeks for a reply, not knowing if it would be approved.
And I just can't stress enough that if you don't complete the 251 satisfactorily, you still lose your license. This is just giving those first-time offenders more relevant penalties while you let them try and go about and continue their life and improve themselves.